Metric unit conversions are done pretty quickly if the units are famous. So if I say 5.2 meters, what's that in centimeters? Most people can get pretty quickly that it's 520 centimeters just by timesing by 100. That's as simple as it can get, but what if I said convert 18.2 hectares into centimeters squared? Well, that's harder, and in fact not a lot of people know what a hectare even is. So therefore my explanation for this involves teaching you some units that you may not already know, and here they are. So here's a scheme. We'll do length first. Everyone knows meters, they go in the middle. Then go to the highest for the next most famous, then go to the very smallest for the next most famous, and then of course it's pretty famous as well if there's centimeters. So they're the 4 famous ones, and now what I'm going to do is tell you another 3 ones that you don't know, thereby completing a symmetrical diagram with 7 things, 3 bigger than a meter and 3 smaller than a meter. The first 2 non-famous ones are easy to remember because they both begin with D, and the bigger one has more letters in it than the smaller one. They go on either side of the middle. One's bigger than a meter, one's smaller than a meter. And the final one just completes this picture. It's a hectometer, and this scheme is such that everything has 10 of the one below it. So 10 millimeters is a centimeter, 10 centimeters is a decimeter. So this thing here is physically a decimeter because that's 10 centimeters. You get 10 of those, you get a meter. 10 meters, you get a decameter. 10 decameters, you get a hectometer. And if you have 10 hectometers, you get a kilometer. So if I said convert 15.2 hectometers to decimeters, it's very simple. Step 1, lay down 15.2. Step 2, choose whether you're timesing or dividing. A hectometer is massive. It only takes 10 of those to get into a kilometre, whereas a decimeter is one of these. So you're going to fit a lot of those in 15.2 hectometers. So therefore you need to get a very big answer. So do a timesing to make sure you do get a very big answer. Now you just need to decide how many of those are in one of those. Well, just count the jumps. There's 10 decimeters in a meter, 10 meters in a decameter, and 10 decameters in a hectometer. So there must be 1,000 decimeters in a hectometer. So our conversion comes from timesing by 1,000. I think that's worked. The decimal point used to be there. Now it's hiding there. That's moved 3 times, which it should have because you're timesing by 1,000. So that's how you do metric units conversions for length. I'll now show you how to do it for area. Well, the basic is just to remember that areas are measured with squares. So that is a square centimetre. So here are the units for areas. Okay, so in other words, that is just a square made out of a centimetre on both the length and the height. Now, if there were 10 centimetres in a decimeter, there now must be 100 of each of these in the one above it, which means if I give you a conversion such, for example, like this, convert convert 2,700 square meters into a square hectometer, which by the way has a famous name. A square hectometer is called a hectare, which is given the abbreviation HA. Then, same as before, lay down the measurement. Choose whether you're timesing or dividing. That's a smaller unit than that one, so you'll be able to fit not that many of those in that. So therefore we divide. What you divide, count the jumps. 1, 2 jumps. So you divide by 10,000 because it's 100 square meters in a decameter squared, and it's 100 square meters in a hectare. Whatever you get for that, which I think is 0.27, let's just check that. decimal point used to be hiding there, now I've got it there, so it's moved 4 times, which it should have. So that is the equivalent of 2,700 square metres. I'll now start a fresh page to illustrate the units of volume. Same scheme again, we've got metres in the middle, kilometres at the top, millimetres at the bottom, centimetres second from the bottom, the 2 ones beginning with D on either side of the middle, and hectometres from the top. This time, however, we're measuring volume, which means we're asking how many of these little cubes can we fit. So what I've drawn here is a centimetre cube, and that is what you get when you take a 1 centimetre length and turn it into a cube. So here are all my units. One of those is very famous, it's this, that's called a litre. So a litre is what you get when you take a length of a decimetre and turn it into a cube, which means you can probably now guess that there are 1,000 of a square of cubic centimetre in a cubic decimetre, in other words a litre, which means the famous name for a cubic centimetre must be a millilitre. And now conversions are like this. Convert 2 litres into cubic millilitres, lay down the 2. That's little, that's big, so we're going to times to make sure we get a big answer, because we should be expecting a bigger answer if we're fitting a smaller unit into the same space. Count the jumps. There's 2 jumps between a cubic millimetre and a litre, so lay down 6 zeros because it'll be 1,000 per jump. Can I just convince you of that? There are 1,000 of this in this because you can fit 10 along the bottom, you can fit 10 also along the back, so there'll be 100 just in the bottom layer, and there are 10 layers of that. That's where I get the number 1,000 from. So the answer to this is that there are 2 million in a 2 litre volume.